Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live. Hope you guys are well. We are on Tuesday, but we're going to treat it like a Monday since we had a Monday holiday. I hope you enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend and you took time to remember why we have Memorial Day in the first place. A lot of people do the Murph, which I think has started to become a universal thing, which is fun to see because I can't tell you how many people I saw yesterday doing the Murph. Probably a couple hundred, just in my community alone. And driving to the Naval Academy, that was one too. But it's just good to see. And guys got to stop by a memorial service for Lieutenant Commander Christensen, who um, died on that rescue mission to get Michael Murphy, and they met people who actually knew Michael Murphy. Quite impressive event over there at the Naval Academy. They had an honor run for that, and then the guys walked through the cemetery. It's good. It's good. I think that's the way it should be done. So today we're going to talk a little bit about affordable fitness on a budget. And a lot of times it's a time or money issue for most people when it comes to fitness. Whether that is joining a gym, joining an expensive gym. There are very affordable gyms, I will say, between the YMCA and Planet Fitness. If you're looking for an inexpensive option, both of those are really good. But a less expensive gym and one that gives you more freedom is the one you have in your own house. And that can be built quite a number of ways with just basic equipment from rubber bands to dumbbells, some ab rollers, some foam rollers. You got yourself a basic thing. You throw a pull up bar, dip bar in there, you've really just added a whole bunch of diversity to your options. And, you can make it a calisthenics and walking, cardio type, walking, running, biking for minimal amounts of money, for sure. And you can find some workouts online. They may not be personalized for you, but you can at least get some ideas on what to do and how to do it. YouTube's a lot of fun. You can find yoga and different exercise work along videos for free. So if you tell me it's too much money to go do fitness, I'm going to give you about a list of 5, 6 different things that you can do to work out without spending a dime. Tons of resources on YouTube. Highly recommend that. Articles, I write 3 fitness articles a week for military.com, write a couple for my site. So there's fitness blogs out there. Get great ideas. Consider buying some stuff too. Go to Facebook Marketplace or eBay. Find cheap stuff. Everybody's getting rid of fitness equipment. You can just find it. In fact, some Facebook marketplaces, if you have the means to go pick it up, they'll just give it to you for free. I can't tell you how much stuff we've had donated to what we do over the years. Just people giving us racks and pull-up bars, dumbbells, kettlebells, just dumping them, and we'll take them. We'll take all types of stuff. So yeah, don't get too beat up with the cost of fitness. You can create a fitness around a tight budget for sure. Now with time, that's a different animal. You don't need to spend hours on end training, especially if you're into a beginner program. Minutes a day will get you to where you need to be. And you can break that up throughout the day. If you don't have 30, 40 minutes to donate to your fitness, How about 8 sets of 5 minutes to donate to your fitness, or just six? You know, 30 minutes, 5 minutes of walking. Take a break, 5 minutes, come back, do some push ups. If you got a pull up bar, stop by a pull up bar, grab some dumbbells. Another cheap one too is go to a gym, see if they have a free trial. If you're really cheap and trying to save some money, you can probably get a 2 to 3 day trial, at some of these local gyms and see if you really find something that you really like. And if you do, you might be able to take it and put it in your house. That's real freedom. Once you get yourself a home gym, that's real freedom. So, so what kind of questions do you guys have? I have an update. Had a bunch of guys get through Hell Week. I think they finished with 39. Got through Hell Week, which is a lot. And all of our guys that worked out with us successful. So I think it was 5 or 6. So not bad. Hey Stu, I go to selection tomorrow. California prison SWAT team. Any words of wisdom? The yelling, gas chamber, lack of sleep. Yeah, you know what? At this point, there's nothing you can do between now and tomorrow to get faster, to get stronger. Nothing. What I would recommend is be well rested, get some sleep, eat well, be carbed up, bring extra carbs with you if you can, supplement some things. I usually bring honey packets or just buy you one of those little bears at the grocery store and just chug that stuff. Give you a lot of carbs there, fruits, vegetables, anything like that. It's always good. I always got through with bananas and apple slices, just a little pick me up. So fuel, I would say the most important things are realizing you can't get faster, you can't get stronger between now and then. So just rest and eat well, but you can get tougher. That's a mental thing. So just really dig deep in there and just say it's time to get tougher. When you feel like you can't move any further, that's when you get tougher. And that's when it's tested. That's when your will is tested, when you're just beat and you can't feel like you can move anymore, but somehow you find the fuel when the tank is empty. That's all this whole book is about. Little gems like that to get you through those moments when you doubt yourself and you have a fear of failing. It's about pushing through, man. Keep going. Yelling, yeah. Negative feedback's always interesting. Some people handle it better than others. My advice is just know that that is what they're doing, trying to get you stressed, and just let it kind of roll off of you. Listen to it, take it in, and say, okay, if I screwed something up, how can I do that better next time so I don't get this same feedback? But don't let them get in your head either to say, like, you don't belong here. You're the worst student I've ever seen. You'll never going to make the SWAT team or whatever selection you're at. Don't let that get to you, because they're trying to get to you. And they just want to see how you handle it. Come back stronger after you hear that negative feedback. That is what they're looking for. So, gas chamber, yeah, I don't have much on that one. Just it sucks because I've tried it a couple times. Like, I try to hold my breath as long as I can, and it doesn't help. But breathing it in a lot, that sucks too. I remember holding my breath for almost had it all the way through, and then I just couldn't hold my breath any longer. I was crying still, tears coming through your eyes, and then I take this big inhalation, and that didn't help me. So you almost want to just like real tiny inhalations, exhalations, and just man, it just sucks. Yeah, gas chambers are no fun. Just know that. As long as you know that going in, that's half the battle. It's a lot of these little hard challenges that I try to get people prepared for, like something as simple as treading water. Everybody thinks treading water is easy. Unless you're pretty lean, and then it's not easy. You're actually fighting for your life just to stay up, and um, you realize that it's harder than you had thought it was. But if you'd have just practiced it a little bit, you'd have probably done quite all right. At least mentally going into it, you'd have said, "Okay, I got to bring my A game for this because this is going to suck," and you do. Versus, think something's easy, and then you just you know, are shocked, and now you got to deal with this shock of how hard it is as well as how hard it is and get through it versus knowing it's hard and it sucks and you prepare for it mentally and physically and have some form of strategy to get through that. And that's with everything. So, good luck to you. I hope you get to wear the SWAT patch here in the future. I've been following your programs for over a year now. Yesterday I hit a 32-minute Murph. Damn. No vest though. Hey, that's still good though. I worked the day before wearing a vest and didn't want to be reminded of work on a day off. Hey man, I get it. Yeah, I'd say I do the Murph 50% of the time without a vest. Some days I just don't need a vest to do my workouts. But that's good, man. That's fast. If I were to go back to the pipeline, in hindsight, if I were to go back to the pipeline, I would emulate third phase conditions. I would do a lot of weighted runs with extra layers. Do you agree with that or disagree? Yeah, I would say. I mean, weighted runs are needed. I mean, not just in third phase, but in first phase. Especially if you're just not, you might not be rucking, but you're going to be carrying a log, you're going to be carrying a boat, you'll be running, you'll be walking fast. That sucks. You got to have some durability there for sure. Um, is it still possible to get into shape at 58 years old? Absolutely. 100%. I can't tell you how many people in their 50s and 60s do workouts that I've coached that are doing workouts with me now that 20-year-olds do. So it definitely can. And whether you're a beginner, but you got to treat yourself like a beginner. In fact, I have a book, a great workout book called The Ageless Athlete. In fact, I'm going to put a link out here for you. This is Fitness Over 50. And it has a beginner program, it has an intermediate program, and has an advanced program in it. Highly recommend checking that out. It's got some of my favorite mobility exercises in there. Makes you feel a little bit loose and less pain. So, yes, Mr. Fusion, 58 is a great time to get moving again. Because I tell you, if you don't, it's going to make your 60s worse and your 70s much worse. Whereas you could still be highly active and working out in your 70s if you start now. How frequently should you do Sam Baby workouts? And is the fall winter phase routine? Not quite sure how this question was asked. I do have fall and winter phase routines. There's sandbag workouts in those. Um, some of my more selection specific workouts, like Navy SEAL and Army Ranger, Air Force PJ, they definitely have sandbag workouts, recon stuff, because it simulates log PT. However, some of my phase workouts do also have them. In fact, if you get the increased strength crush the PST. You'll get a little bit of both in that one, calisthenics and cardio, along with strength training. It's a block periodization model, the way we mix it. But we do the Sam Baby Devil Murph, for instance, which is a log PT simulator, like all the log PT things you can do, a bear crawl and a Murph, or like Devil's Mile and a Murph, all thrown in together. Great workout. Takes hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, depending on your abilities and how much we run in between exercises. But we do that probably at the most once every 2 weeks. We'll do that in the summer a couple of times just to get people peaked out on their muscle stamina. Because it's nothing heavy. It's all 40-pound weight vest or 40-pound sandbags, that simulate you working on a log or carrying a boat on your head. So yeah, that's how we do it. Once a month or twice a month at the most. What's some good running shoes to train in? I personally like the On Clouds, but I've gone with Brooks before. Ultras, I like the Ultras as well. In fact, my next running shoes for this next high mileage cycle will be a set of either On Clouds or Ultras. Really depends on fitting on the day when I get them. Ultras, and that's Altra if you're not familiar. And On Cloud is a Swiss shoe that's really good. In fact, I'm wearing them now. Just ran in some. What's a good body fat percentage someone should be in going at buds? It doesn't really matter. I mean, I've seen people with less than 10 and as high as 20. So, the leaner you are, the colder you will be, put it that way. And you will get cold at buds. So what I did is I came in a little bit chunkier. Chunky. I mean, I was 6'1", 205. And that's probably like the most I wanted to carry and still be able to run and do obstacle courses, stuff like that. And then by the time third phase came around, I was 195, which was a really good weight for me. So I carried an extra 10 pounds just to get through Hell Week, which I thought was helpful. All right. Looks like I answered all those questions. Would you say the egg beater is the best way to tread water? Well, I will say the best way to tread water is the one that allows you to tread well. So put it this way. When I was going through SEAL training, I did not know what the egg beater was. I did not know how to do it. I couldn't do a good breaststroke. All I could do was scissor kick. And that's scissor kick or flutter kick with fins and without fins. That's how I got through buds. Scissor kicking, little flutter kicking with fins, scissor kicking left, scissor kicking right. So it's basically like an alternating scissor kick for treading. And that's how I got through the treads. And they weren't fun. I wasn't good at it. And it sucked because I was pretty lean. And so I wasn't floating at all. If I didn't kick, I would sink. And when you do it with no hands, it's a put out evolution. I think that's just something you just got to know. So, however, now I'm a little less lean than I was when I was 25, but I am a better egg beater, better breaststroke kicker, and can definitely do the egg beater much better. But that was I looking back, it was definitely a mobility issue that was preventing me from having a good breaststroke egg beater kick. So my advice is this: work on both. Get your scissor kicks down, alternating scissor kicks, get your egg beater down, and that way you can create a strategy of changing kicks when you need to change kicks, whether that's every other minute you change kicks, or let's say you get a hamstring cramp and you can't do a scissor kick anymore, but you can do an egg beater, different muscle groups. So, have some ideas like that to help you diversify your kicking. What kind of training would you focus on if you wanted to try to prepare for FBI HRTs? We've had a couple guys come through here, several guys come through here and do FBI SWAT screeners and do well. And then we've had a couple do the FBI HRT as well and make the team. And they just did our workouts, and they did our seasonal tactical fitness periodization, because what that allows you to do is just get good at everything. So you're running, you're rucking, you're swimming. Even though you probably don't need to swim that much for HRT, you can cut back on your time invested in swimming and maybe replace it with one of your other weaknesses. There's lifting, there's calisthenics, there's flexibility, mobility, all of those things. There's lots of hills and running stairs, stair steppers with a weight vest. Highly recommend that one. That's one of those events that will crush you at that training. But yeah, the seasonal tactical fitness periodization, it's basically our cycles we go through every season. In fact, by the way, this is week 12 of spring. We started spring 2 weeks early, so we're probably going to extend our spring for 2 more weeks until the summer. So we're not going to increase our mileage anymore for the next 2 weeks, because we're already at like 30 miles right now, 25, 30 miles. So we're going to maintain mileage, work on speed. In fact, we had guys hitting 25, 26-minute 4-mile time runs today, so we're doing really well. Everybody's below 28 minutes for the most part, at least the guys that are leaving in the next few months. So feeling good about that. So we're just going to focus on speed, not really ramp up volume. And then in the summer, we'll probably ramp up volume a little bit, more volume on calisthenics and cardio, and really kind of peak out on our mileage and repetitions. And then we'll probably come back into the fall and start ramping down a little bit and start adding weight vests, stuff like that. So we kind of treat the year like a bell curve, where we are about right here right now on our running and calisthenics. We're going to get up to here by the midsummer, late summer, and then come back down with some volume decreases, weight increases, and then get into our winter lift cycle again. So that is what I would do. That is something that I have found to be very helpful for the guys that are just trying to get good at everything, to be able to endure those kind of selections. Because there's a lot of tactical stuff to it as well, but at least you'll be physically able to handle all the physical challenges and not be exhausted, to be able to think clearly and do your tactical stresses as well. Kool-Aid says, third phase guys say that their 4-mile time run dropped 2 minutes because they're so conditioned to running around kitted up. So how would you smartly incorporate this into your training? I mean, we run and ruck every week. So, I mean, every Friday, our programs, the way we are setting it up and the way I write them up, every Friday we are doing a run, ruck, and a swim. Sometimes we'll throw in legs in there as well, make it a leg day with a run and a ruck and a swim with fins. So I'm not sure what you're asking, but that's how we do it. And then earlier in the week we'll run hills, and some guys would do weight vests on the hills. So anyway, what we do when we're running hard, meaning not distance or even speed, when we're making running harder by adding sand, by adding hills, by adding weight or bleachers, we do that on leg days. Those are our leg days. So twice a week, we're making running harder by adding weight or just making it difficult. That's how we get our legs a little more uh, muscle stamina and durability. Um, what kind of weight? Yeah, I would say anywhere from I would be progressive. If you're like the weights we usually are rucking with 40 and 50. Um, but we'll weight vest with anywhere between 25 and 35. So, but do all of this progressively. Like if you don't ruck at all, don't just jump into a 50-pound ruck. Take it back to 25 every week, maybe add 5 pounds, something like that. Be progressive. Same way you would be progressive with your mileage, be progressive with your weight increases. Be patient. Don't just jump into a 50-pounder and wonder why everything hurts the next day. After gaining 60 pounds in 3 years in the Navy, damn, I have officially weighed in 4 pounds lower than I did when I joined 5 years ago. Nice. Good job. With a whole lot more lean muscle. Good job, man. Year and a half to go from 255 to 192. That's awesome. Great job. I love to hear that story. How much should I run a week? I don't know. How much do you want to run a week? However much you run a week should be a progressive process. So, whatever you run right now, add 15% to that. That's your maximum that you would gain each week. So, my answer is I'm going to put it back to you is depending on how much you run now, if you want to increase your running, increase it by a 10 to 15% increase each week. Otherwise, chances are you're going to develop feet, shin, knee problems. So, that question is kind of one of those questions that I tell people I need more answers, need more information. Like you trying to run a marathon, an endurance race, trying to prepare for the military, trying to prepare for special ops. What? So all of those things, how much are you running now? All those things will depend on your answer. And all of those goals are different with my answer. What's a good 1.5 nautical mile swim time with fins? Well, we try to do this every mile. So a nautical mile is 2,000 yards. Half a nautical mile is 1,000 yards. So we try to get our 1,000s at a pace of 15 to 16 minutes. Okay, if you can do that, that's not bad. That's like it's like a 8-minute 500. Okay, so 16-minute 1,000 and 32-minute 2,000. Add 16 minutes to that. What's that? 48. It's pretty good. And if you can do it again for 4,000 or 2 nautical miles, which is what you do every week at Buds, should be under 65, 70 minutes max. Any tips for strengthening, stretching hip flexors? Yeah, a lot of them. Hanging knee ups, flutter kicks, banded knee ups, leg levers, and then stretching them. World's greatest stretch, hurdler stretches. Yeah, got a whole bunch of them. What's your opinion on cycling along with swimming, rucking, and running? I'd highly recommend it, especially if you're not into running that much. So when I started this journey, whew, man, getting old. Um, Damn, when I was 20, I started this journey. So that was 20, 36 years ago. What the fuck? Okay, so 36 years ago, I started this journey, and I was a powerlifting football player all throughout my teens. And when I wanted to do this, I realized that I needed to lay off the weights because I was strong enough. I need to get better at calisthenics, and I needed to progressively get my running better, but I could get my cardio better by swimming and biking along with it. So what I did is I basically treated myself like a triathlete where 2/3 of my cardio was non-impact. I needed to get better at swimming anyway. I biked, so I did a lot of biking and running combination workouts. So I would bike for 20 minutes, run for 20 minutes, got 40 minutes of cardio, half the impact. Highly recommend that model if you are new to running. Cut your mileage in half and bike the other half. And usually the ratio I would do is any mile you're skipping that day from running, replace it with 10 minutes of biking. So if you got a 4 mile timed run, but that's too much for you, cut it in half. You got a 20-minute bike, 2 mile run. That's a great way to stay injury free. Work your legs, work your lungs, work your heart, minus the impact. So Citrus Red says he is on a strength cycle right now. How do I know when to change my program? Starting to get more achy lately. So do I need to change gears? Well, I will tell you this. We were very similar this winter. We did this winter lift cycle, and we started our spring training cycle, which is shifting into more calisthenics and cardio, 2 weeks early because of that. We were a little bit achy. Everybody was just kind of like, all right, I'm kind of done with lifting. I think we've hit some pretty good numbers. I don't see my numbers getting better in the next 2 weeks. And I really need to start getting my running better and times better. We were still running and maintaining. We just wanted to improve some of those scores, especially as we're going into June ship dates and August ship dates. Wanted to get them up. So we did. This is our 12th week of spring already, and to the person, everybody is just crushing the longer runs, PSTs, mile and a half's under 9. Everybody. So yeah, we're really happy that we did that. So we just cut our winter lift cycle 2 weeks short and started our spring training cycle. So we obviously have, if you know the cycles when they actually start, summer starts in 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. So we got this week to finish our 12th week of spring, and then we got like 2 weeks before the summer starts. We're going to extend our spring training to get to the summer phase. But yeah, we got out of that for that reason. But we've also done just the opposite. We were like burned out from running and calisthenics, and we started the winter lift cycle or the fall cycle 2 weeks early. So we've done this before. It's not common. I would say probably once every 5 years we get a little bit off schedule. Kind of depends on the intensity of the workouts. Some of the guys do secondary workouts that I have to monitor. So yeah, I would say yeah, start transitioning out of it. If you're starting to feel achy and just not fully recovered from your workouts, shift out. But you can do a really fun block periodization model where you go 3 weeks of cals and cardio, 1 week of lifting. That's kind of what we're going to start after this spring cycle. It'll be our summer cycle where it's 3 weeks cals and cardio, progression, volume, everything. Then we take a week and we flatline it, decrease a little bit of the running mileage, still running, but we add a lift and decrease the reps. So it's a good way to go 3 weeks up, 1 week flat, 3 weeks up, 1 week flat, and it helps us to maintain all of our winter lift cycles. So my advice for you is it's up to you if you want to switch to cals and cardio, but if you have some harder gains, like if you're a hard gainer and that winter lift cycle was really needed and you don't want to lose that, try this. Try 3 weeks cals and cardio, 1 week lift. 3 weeks cals and cardio, 1 week lift. And you'll see this is the fall season seasonal tactical fitness periodization. I have a summer one that is same on that 3 weeks cals and cardio, 1 week lift. 3 weeks cals and cardio, 1 week lift. That's a great way to even improve. I've seen guys improve their strength during that cycle, even though we were in the middle of a run and calisthenics cycle. And then we do the same thing in the winter. We'll go 3 weeks of lifting, 1 week of cals and cardio. 3 weeks of lifting, 1 week cals and cardio. And that is a great way to maintain, even improve PST scores during the middle of a strength cycle. And gain weight. Typical, our guys were gaining 10 to 15 pounds during our winter lift cycle, getting stronger and either maintaining or a little bit of improvements in their cals and cardio on their events. So you can do it all. It just requires some thinking. Like you just can't blindly throw in a weight workout in the middle of a cals and cardio cycle or vice versa and think you're going to get better at everything all at once. Because unless your recovery is perfect, it is really hard to improve strength and cardio at the same time. It's doable. It's just really hard and requires some ungodly level of recovery. And that's sleeping, eating, hydrating, no drinking, alcohol and going out and staying out late at night. I mean, you got to take it real seriously, which you should be anyway. All right. So what else we got here? Any other questions? Comments? You guys have a good weekend. So just so you know, I'm going to be back tomorrow, and we'll do a quick live Q&A. I'll show some CSS critiques. If you got videos you want me to critique, happy to do that. Send them to me, stu@stusmith.com, or you can just DM me over at Instagram, StuSmith50. And if you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. If you go to StuSmithFitness.com, tons of programs over there, easily downloadable, book format as well. Save 15% with the live 15 coupon code. Happy to honor that for you guys. And looks like I got one more question, and we'll end it with this. Do you think your 12 weeks to bud still holds up to your newer programs or better? Yeah, that's a good question. I wrote that 12 weeks to buds 25 years ago. And it is looking back at it, it is a great calisthenics and cardio workout program. There's no weights in it, right? So if you need cals and cardio on a high level, that is a good plan to do it. I will say the later versions of my programs have evolved to add weights, lots of overhead stuff, rucking. Instead of a run, swim, run, we do run, swim, rucks. Just the workouts have changed a little bit, but the volume is still there, and there's more than one way to add volume. You can do it the way it is in that 12 week to buds program. You can do it in any other type of program. Pyramids, supersets, max rep sets. It's up to you how you want to split that up. But I wouldn't say it's any worse than the others. It's just more centralized on running, swimming, and calisthenics more than anything. So if you have a background of strength, 12 weeks to buds is really good for you. If you don't, you might want to get on one of the lifting cycles to gain some strength and then go into 12 weeks to buds type of program or a cows and cardio program just to be able to peak out on your muscle stamina and endurance. Because, for years people have always said it's a run a man's game at buds, and it really is. I mean, you need to be able to run well. But you also need to be able to swim well and have some pool confidence and be able to run through obstacle courses and have a strong grip. So it's more than just that. But I will tell you this, out of everything that usually gets people, running is what tests you the most out there. Unless you're a runner, then it's an easy day. And once again, if you're running, if you're a running man, it's an easy day for you. Except for when you're under a boat or under a log. If you're a running man, it kind of sucks. So everybody has that thing that's going to make them dig a little bit deeper. I think that's one of the neat things about any spec ops selection is that nobody's great at everything when they come in. They might have a history of something that they're really good in, but that comes with a equal and opposite weakness that you got to focus on. And that's what I try to do. I try to help you, one, understand there's a weakness that you have that you might not even realize. That's why we go through these systems of training and patience that takes a little bit of time to actually prepare. And you realize, oh man, I'm not good at treading. Never thought about treading being hard. Those are the types of aha moments that you have, when you go through training like this. So, what would you suggest to if I wanted to become an instructor? Get through buds first, and then go to your team, and then do a couple tours there at your team, and then they'll say, "Hey, anybody want shore duty at buds?" And usually that's the way it works. Just be a good dude. Don't be you know, don't be someone that is out of shape and is going to go to buds. They probably won't take you. So, still be in top-notch shape. If you were to add a few obstacles to practice in the backyard, what would it be? Probably a rope climb. Probably the most important. Just being able to hang on a rope, even if you don't have a tall rope climb. Just dangle a rope over a pull-up bar and hang on to it like that, both hands, and then slowly get your whole body into it. And that is tough. That's good grip workout too. But a wall, it's not a bad idea. If you wanted to film content through my journey of becoming a Navy SEAL, when am I allowed to do so? I would never do that. Yeah, if you want to film and show everybody in the world that you're training to be a Navy SEAL, guess who else sees that? Probably a Navy SEAL instructor. They're going to kick your butt when they find out anything that you've posted on social media about becoming a SEAL. My advice is, if you've done that already, take it off. This isn't time to be a spectacle. This is time for you to focus on you, not let the world know what you're focusing on. Do not recommend doing that. Let's see. I definitely struggle with maintaining everything. I could get good at everything. I'm not focusing on suffers. Yeah. Yep, that's what happens. But yeah, get on a good system. Block periodization is a great system. In fact, I've written a couple articles about block periodization. Check this one out. This is a good one. I've done one for the winter as well. But I explain block periodization. If you just Google block periodization, Stu Smith, you'll see a couple other articles on it. This one's just happens to be my spring summer block periodization article. But I have a winter one for it as well, and then I have a lessons learned on how I created that. Because originally when I started, it was a 6:2 ratio, We do 6 weeks of one, 2 weeks off, 6 weeks of one, 2 weeks off. So, it came out to, um, yeah, 6-2, 6-2. Is that how it was? No, it was 4-2, 4-2. All right. So 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And that didn't really work well. And then somebody suggested 3-1. And I was like, oh, that makes sense because now you're getting 9 weeks of what you need to focus on versus 8. And I always thought 2 weeks was a little too much to kind of deload. Um, so we started making it a 3-1, and that worked incredibly well. All right, folks, that's it. I got to go. I appreciate your time. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do some CSS videos and take some more questions. You guys have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow.